Hello guys, Fru here. Welcome to the channel. So today we're gonna talk about this massive announcement from Snowflake with the acquisition of Streamlight. It's making waves in the application developer ecosystem, and people are talking about this. This is such a powerful move. If you write code of any sort, if you develop any application of any sort, this is something that you definitely want to pay attention to. Last week or so, we made a demo around Snowpark for Python, which was really Snowflake being this unified data ecosystem, allowing data scientists to bring in machine learning models. We're talking about TensorFlow, XGBoost, NumPy, OpenCV, all the Python libraries you work with already, bringing that into Snowflake and taking advantage of Snowflake's massive, scalable, elastic compute to run your analysis. Now, just when we thought this couldn't get any better, Snowflake came out with this announcement. And if you are a data developer or a application developer, you want to pay attention to this. It's that massive. This is literally setting the trend for the industry. So why is this relevant? Why is the acquisition of Streamlight such a big deal? I'm going to break that down. I'm going to talk about why it's such a big deal. And we're also going to go into some demonstration to see uh, setting Streamlight in action and connecting to Snowflake and building a live application, a live native application using Python that runs on Snowflake. And this is powerful. This is massive. So going back into this acquisition, you can read what that announcement was, and you can go ahead and test it. You can literally follow the demo we're gonna do today. It's very simple demo to go through. If you're like me, you write a lot of Python code. You do work, and the challenge I've always had doing work was my work just sat on my machine in Python scripts, in SQL scripts, in databases, in tables, in data sets I've worked on. And I always had that friction of being able to expose that and collaborate with other people. And the challenge with that was I don't have a front end. I don't have the skill set to do, or maybe I don't have the time to just go out and do an Angular front end or Node.js front end, a React front end to expose the work I've done behind the scenes with Python. It was just a challenge. And because of that, a lot of my things were just sitting on my desktop and sitting in different tables, and no one was really getting value out of it. But what if there was a scenario where you don't need to know React, Angular, uh, any front end application, but you can take your code and build your own application right on top of the data in Snowflake, right on top of the logic you have in Snowflake. This is why this acquisition is massive. It's a game changer. I'm sure the developers, app developers, are literally putting their keyboards down, looking up on the screen, and saying, "Hey, tell me more about this acquisition." And they're going to be trying it out. So in that spirit, we're going to dive right in to see how we can build a very quick application of some data set that sits in Snowflake, again, without having to be Python or Angular developers or React developers. And we're going to do that in a very easy fashion. So let's get started here with the Snowflake environment. And what we're gonna see here is we have some data, and we're gonna use the sample data coming from the Snowflake sample database. So if you have a Snowflake account, you can follow along. And the table we're gonna use is customer table. So there's customer information, there's other information. We can do a report that tells us what our customers are ordering, what they're buying, and we can build a report. But what if we want to go more than a report? What if we want to build a scalable application that we can give to other people? We can embed into websites that people can interact with live, real time, in a very seamless fashion without the overhead of having to know front end or become a full stack developer. That's what we're gonna see in this demo. So what we're going to see is building a quick application that can take the customer information, the orders information, join that together, maybe throw in some machine learning if you want to, throw in some data quality, get some data sets from the Snowflake marketplace, and you can expose that, you can externalize that as an application that folks can consume and embed. So that's it. Let's go right in with the ground date into our Snowflake or into our PyCharm environment. So this is where we're going to be building that application, a very simple application combining Streamlit and Snowflake together. So you can follow along. We're gonna go ahead and create a blank canvas, a blank page in here where we are going to write our script. And the very first thing that we need for the script is very, very basic. So we need to import pandas and we need to import. Let's zoom in here so we can see what we're doing on the screen. So we're gonna import pandas. We're gonna import the Snowflake connector, and we're also gonna import Streamlight. All right. Why do we need pandas? We're going to see that a little bit shortly here. And why do we need a Snowflake connector? Because the code we run is going to all go into Snowflake. And last but not least, why do we need Streamlight? Well, Streamlight is going to be this plugin that allows us to do front end applications, again, without having to know React, Angular, Node, and all of that stuff. So let's get started here. You can see there is a problem with Streamlight or Streamlit, depending on how you call it. Not looking too good on my machine. So we're gonna go ahead and clear that. I'm gonna do pip install, and we can just go do Streamlit. All right, and that's all we need. If you use Anaconda, you can go ahead and install that with Anaconda, and that should bring Streamlit into your environment. So I think we've done that. Just verify that we have successes. Yep, everything should look good. I think that should take care of itself here shortly. Now, the next thing we need to do once we have a Streamlit set up is we're going to go ahead and import config parser. So you can go ahead and import config parser. And the reason why I'm doing this is, well, I don't want everyone to see my username and password. I know that wouldn't be too good of a thing to do. So for that reason, we're going to import config parser. And once we have config parser, what we're going to do then is use it to pull in our username and password. So we're getting config parser. We're looking at the file, which has my configuration. And that file has username, password, account, and all the good stuff we need to connect to Snowflake. That's all we need. Literally, that's all we need. Now, once we have a username and password and we can authenticate into Snowflake, the fun begins. The next step that we can do once we have that is we can go ahead and create a connection. Right? The connection, think about it as a session that allows us to talk from the PyCharm environment into Snowflake to begin doing work. Right? So this allows us to have a session that we can then talk into Snowflake. Now, with our connection set up, let's use that connection to do some work. Again, what we want to do here, and we're going to build this slowly. We're going to build this slowly. What we really want is a way for users to come in. If we go back to the data, is for users to come in, and if we take a look at this environment, we can see that the data has customer keys, it has customer name, address, nation key, and a bunch of stuff. Okay. But what we care about is we want to put a drop down. So when I come in as an executive or as a user of this application, I can drop down to say, hey, show me the sales by the market segment. So we want to drop down. Now, I'm sure everyone is scratching their head and saying, but Fro, you're asking me to create a UI, a front end with a drop down. Oh no. So I have to go out and learn HTML, HTML5, and CSS, and then maybe throw a front end on top of that, React, Angular. No, like that is just, you're pushing it. You're pushing it, asking the average person to go out and do that, right? Even developers, I'm sure if they could cut down your work to do that, they will love it. And that's what we're going to see here shortly. So let's get a quick drop down that reads from our database and shows us a distinct market segment. And then based on that, we're going to drive some other actions on the screen. So if we go back into our PyCharm environment, we can write a very, very simple SQL statement. And the SQL statement we're going to write is something that I'm sure everyone at this point working with Snowflake should be able to get something like that. So let's go ahead and put that statement together. Okay. So what do we have here? So we have market statement. We're gonna hold that into a pandas data frame. So remember, we imported pandas from above. So we're gonna do read SQL, and what are we doing? We're going into getting distinct market segment from. We're getting that from our sample database, and we're just gonna get the top 10 using our connection. Okay, you can embed any query you want, any good stuff you really want from here. You can embed that natively into this. Now, once we have the market segment, there are a lot of things that we can do. We can take this, we can visualize it, we can do a lot of things. But now, what I'm gonna do before we visualize this is to take that and set it as an option. So I want users to come in and then based on the selection. So we want to have an option selection. Very, very easy. So I want to give users the option to select a drop down and say, hey, show me the market segment. And that drop down, and this is a syntax. So we're going to Streamlit, which we got in as ST, all right? And we're gonna do a select box. And in there, we're gonna give it the title. So just think about the name of our select box and the values in there, the options we're giving to our users is basically what we get back from our pandas data frame, the read that we did. All right. And so that is good. And once we have everything now set up, we can go ahead and try the application we have here. So let's run this really quick to see. We have a Streamlight and pandas and everything, and it works, and you can verify that this works because we have a query happening here. And if we go over to Snowflake customers, and let's go back to compute, we can actually verify that we have queries coming over into Snowflake. So once we verify that, and we can see 74 seconds ago, we have queries coming over to Snowflake. So that is good. That is good. But you might say, through, where is the visualization? Where is the UI you talked about? And this is where, if we look at the comment below, it's telling us exactly what's happening. So it says, hey, if you want to view this as an application in a UI, because this is going to actually generate an application for us, you should run Streamlight and call this file. So if we go back to terminal, we copy that. I'm just going to go ahead and clear everything here on my terminal. And what we're going to do now is paste that. So we're doing exactly the same thing, except we're just running that from the command line. So let's just run that. Okay, so this is asking, do you want to firewall again following your security protocols? You definitely want to enable this. I know this is a secure network I'm working from. And there you go. Like that, localhost port 8051. We have an application with a drop down, and the drop down, we can see the top 5 market segments we're dealing with. These are the building blocks that, without even knowing front end, no HTML, no CSS, no deployment, no application server, we've got something ready to go. Streamlit is taking care of, or Streamlit is taking care of all of that for us. Okay, so we have a drop down, really, really cool. But what if we take this data and do some more stuff with it? So based on the selection that the user selects, we want to instantiate, we want to do some more. We want to see the orders from buildings, we want to see the orders from automobiles, we want to see all of that. Okay, so now the sky is literally the limit with the creativity you have to write functions. So here, let's go back. We're gonna make a couple of changes to this, and what we're gonna do is, let's um, figure out the orders that we have coming in here. And the way we're going to figure out the orders, or we can call it orders here, not cases. So let's call this orders. And the orders will be a count of the orders. And we're joining from customer table, going to order table. But what's interesting is we can inject variables here, right? So we're going to filter by market segment, so we can put in these options here, ampersand, and the variable, and that variable is gonna get passed, right? And where is it getting passed from? It's getting passed from options. Well, what's options? option is what we select from above. Now you can start seeing how we're building an application here and connecting application logic, all of that, talking to Snowflake in Python without having to do a lot of heavy lifting. Okay, so once we have that, the next thing that we just have to do is we can go ahead and visualize it. I'm just gonna do a couple of things here to help us visualize that really quick. And the things that we're gonna do is uh, because we're not working with cases, we're working with orders. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get the orders set index. I typically just would set that just from a performance perspective. And then last thing here would be uh, setting, and this is really cool. Let's actually zoom in for this one and call it out really quick. So here we are going to take a look at the sales and showing the orders, right? We're working with orders. So we're going to take a look at sales in what? The option we select from above. And we're going to show that. Well, what are we going to show? We're going to show it as a bar chart. All right. And we should add an S here. So we're looking at the orders. And what is the bar chart going to do for us? It's going to take the orders that we've gotten from above, and it's going to visualize that for us as a bar graph, as a bar chart, right? If you want a line chart, there are lots of different visualizations that you can work with, but here we're just going to work with the simple bar chart. So if you go into this function stream dot, you can see a tons, and this is just the beginning of functions that are available that you can work with. But let's just do the bar chart for now uh, to show that, and we're going to show the orders. All right, and the orders will be filtered for just the orders that we select. All right, so let's run this. We can run this, or we can go back to our terminal here and run it from a terminal. And to do that, let's just close that session so everything rebuilds. Here, just think about an app, you're redeploying a new app, and what we can do is we close that here, and let's go back to a brand new terminal. We're gonna go up and run this. Okay, so now everything is gonna compile. It's gonna bring those up for us in the UI. Square in Snowflake. We can go ahead, take a machine, and if we take automobile, boom, like that, voila, right? So my automobile sales, and you can quickly see a very sleek bar chart with all the titles and annotations and all of that available for us. Now I know this is a very basic example. This is 101 example we're doing here, right? Nothing to write home about. But just imagine what this could do for your own data, your own problem. That's where this really gets exciting. Okay, so we're building this native application, and as we interact, let's say we want furnitures. Guess what? It's gonna refresh. It's gonna give us sales in furniture segment A's, and it's giving us those values. We're seeing all the values, really good, millions of dollars. I'm sure somebody's excited about that from management. All right, and if we go back over into Snowflake, this is where all of that gets pushed down, right? So we just did this a few seconds ago, and you can see that query is being filtered and all coming back into Snowflake. All right, and so all of this is coming into Snowflake here. So you can see we filtered for furniture, and that query came back to Snowflake. So this is all live data. This is not static page. But the beauty now with this application is and what Streamlit allows you to do is you can now take this and deploy. You can put this into GitHub, and from GitHub you can deploy it on their application server, which is going to be a separate demo I'm going to do later on. But the beauty about this is the heavy lifting of you going from your data, from your problem, into building an application that you can externalize, you can monetize, you can put into people's hand. It's now that barrier, that friction is getting close to near zero, because storing the data is not a big issue, right? With Snowflake, writing SQL statement and Python, you already know that a lot of people can do that. Okay, that barrier of now going and doing front end on top of that and building an application used to be hard. Well, with this you can do it. Okay, and now I can say, hey, take this, save it as SVG, um, um, or PNG, and you can save this. You can resize things if you want. There are a lot of things that you can do. You can change the perspective, and you can embed this into your own application, which I think that's, you can see where this is going. So tremendous amount of flexibility in terms of the applications you can build once you have Streamlight and Snowflake powering that as the backend. So really cool, guys. To tell you that this announcement of Snowflake acquiring Streamline, that I'm excited about, that is an understatement. This is huge. This is huge. This is one of those things that don't happen a lot in the lifetime of a developer or in a career of a professional. This is one of those things that defines the industry, where the barrier, the friction of gathering data has been solved. Snowflake has solved that. People are moving massively to Snowflake, and then you combine that with giving people native Python plus SQL plus the flexibility to build applications. The sky is the limit. So hopefully this was a great introduction for us. You can follow along the demo, pause it where you need to pause it. If you need my code, I can leave it in GitHub, or there is a great example on the blog of the announcement for this. Try it out and start imagining what is possible when you have the power of Snowflake and Streamlight in at your fingertips in your organization. What can you do with it? What problems can you solve? What applications can you build? That's what the world needs from you. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, sticking to the end. This excites me, and I'm sure it excites you too, equally as much. As always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to let me know in the comment section below. I'll see what I can do. You have been very awesome watching to the end. I have been through with the presentation, and I'll see you in our next presentation.